Hey, welcome back. Build Your Legacy Insurance Edition podcast. Travis, you doing all right, man?
Can't complain, buddy. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
So, listening to a couple of our past podcasts.
Yep. The growth series stuff.
Yeah. Well, and even after that, we did some on softening a market.
Yep.
You know, we've done some on why do people thrive.
Yeah.
And kind of take it another level, I guess. Why do agencies stall?
Yeah. See a lot of that.
You know, so I think since we've done a couple of those podcasts, now it's time to kind of maybe tie them together a little bit and add more to it of why do agencies stall? They get to a point and they're just stuck.
They are
maybe
they
they're
are
happy.
what they are. I think there can be a number of reasons, right? And one of them we've touched on in another podcast about just being comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and I think that goes into what are you building your agency for? You know, what are you building it to become? And, you know, oftentimes when there's not a plan from day one about what you're trying to build, I think it's easy to get comfortable and go, okay, I'm good now.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so I think there's a segment of agencies, it's just being comfortable. Right. And some of that we can kind of, I'd say set to the side.
Okay.
Because I think there's some other ones that we see that agents have intentions of continuing to grow, but they stall out for a number of different reasons. One of the most common ones that I see in independent agencies is, I kind of like to say they're the straw that stirs the drink, right? And if you pull them out of there in any capacity, it's not getting mixed up, right? You know, and so they become, it kind of creates a bottleneck within the business where the business is 100% reliant on them for anything to get done.
Yeah, that's right.
And listen, at some point, you're going to get to a size in that scenario where you just can't do everything, right? And so there's certain areas of the business that will suffer because of that, which leads to the plateauing and the stalling. And some of it, I'll be honest, some of it's trust. They just don't trust other people. Right? They want control over everything at times to their own detriment.
Yeah, some of it is. I mean, I think this could open up so many different levels. I mean, this could be a long podcast here if we keep talking about this. I don't know where to start because it could happen so many different ways with one person that's the owner that is driving the ship, right? They were the lead producer probably. Maybe that you put on the shelf, maybe they get comfortable.
Right.
Maybe as they want everything done their way, nobody wants to come work for them.
Yep.
Maybe they don't know how to hire good, or they've tried to hire and they have given up on hiring because they hired one person, that one person failed, and we're like, well, that's you can't really do that.
Yeah. You know, the other thing too is, you know, hey, they're the lead producer, but they're also the lead service person.
Well, you know, and so that was going to be one of my comments too, is it's like you need to do what you're best at 80% of the time. And the problem is most people get to it and they just start doing everything.
Yep.
And if they're best at servicing now, then that's fine. Service, go hire you production people. If you're really good at producing new,
go hire you service people.
Go hire service people.
Use a
Stop
service center.
helping service. And you got to figure out how to draw those lines. And most people don't. They just, to your point earlier, they want to do everything.
Well, I think it's a product, you know, I talk to a ton of existing agency owners and it's, yeah, we're capable of more, but I just got so much on my plate right now.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And it's,
we all do.
It's like I tell them, it's a good problem to have because it means you're having success.
Right.
But you're not coming back and I would say designating roles. Right. And so that leads to, we don't have defined roles. We're not okay delegating things. We try to do everything ourselves. Hey, when we do want to make a strategic investment, no matter what it is, it's very difficult for that producer to come in or that service person to come in and be successful because you don't have a role created there. They don't know where to start. You don't know how to get them.
You don't know how to train them. You know, so let's just pretend they were the best producer because a lot of agencies, that's how they started out. The owner, you know, was the producer, which again, what we see. The problem is, your point is they hire somebody and just expect them just to hit the ground running.
Pick it up and run. It's what I did. You should do it too. Right?
Yeah, and that's just not the case. Like you said, they don't have a structure there to be like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. This is how I'm going to train you. This is how you're going to hit numbers. And that way they can at least go back and identify if the person's doing the right things or not doing the right things. There's another book that I just listened to is lead measures and lag measures. It's all right. If all you're doing is picking up on the lag measures on if they're selling or not, you should have known months before that they weren't doing any of the right things.
Right.
Activity
is going to tell you what the results are going to be.
But it goes back to your comment. The structure wasn't there. And I do think that is a big issue. And that can be compounded. I just was picking on the production role, but same thing with staff, as well.
It creates an inability to scale, right? Because there's no structure. And so to your point, when they try to make those investments, maybe they don't work out. Sometimes they just give up. I think the other side too, and this can tie in to I'd say a solo producer, or even the hiring side. We understand that all these carriers have production goals. We've talked about that in other podcasts. And so when they're looking to continue to grow their business, sometimes that can be a barrier of entry when it comes to bringing in new carriers, because, they understand, hey, if you already have a mouth or two to feed, maybe you can't feed me, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to hurt the single producer because he's just not going to have as many options. But then when it comes to making an investment in a producer, kind of going back to your point, a good investment doesn't have to be exactly like you, doesn't have to write the exact same things.
Right.
And you're limiting your ability for that person to have success when you're narrowing their options to present to their clients, right?
Yeah.
And so I think a lack of options at times is a big piece of it.
I'm big with, to your point, is let's get that structure at the beginning.
Yep.
It helps them learn things, get themselves educated, get that process done.
Bill, it's why we start all of our new agencies in our agency foundation program.
Well, you're right. And then it goes back to, now, once you get that base knowledge, that doesn't mean you can't pivot. You can't do some different things that are more your personality.
Yeah.
If you go work for an agency that calls on nothing but nonprofits, that's fine. You can learn that. But if you really want to go call on contractors, or you want to be a personal agent, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Still, there can be a lot of similar structure behind it to get to know things. There's got to be that drive and that grit, like we said earlier as well. But I do think that's one of the reasons why people stall, is they just don't have the structure.
Yeah. The structure, I think, is the biggest one. And, I'll say this. I think there are a lot of really good agents that are in the marketplace, and they do a great job. They're good at what they do. But I think it goes back to they're agents. They're not business owners. And I think that's the other piece to this is, for agency owners, there is going to come a point in time where you have to flip from working in your business to working on your business. And it's much easier to do when you lay the structure out from day one of what you want it to be versus trying to recreate that 6-7 years into the lifespan, 10 years, whenever it is, on the fly.
And I think so. Let's combine those two: working on the business and some structure, and then bring in your other point that you were just talking about with the carriers and having the options. Or you got to keep your foot on the gas, and you got to keep doing it. So at least if the new person coming in wants to pivot, wants to go a different direction, at least you should have relationships, and hopefully that carrier that you were building this, I say, nonprofit side in, also does other things, and then, or you've built enough business to get the respect that you can go get other carriers, or maybe they have to partner with us so we can help them
with that market access,
get their name out there a little bit differently. That's a key thing as well. But there's got to be proof that they know what they're doing, that they have structure, that they have a plan and a vision to get that next market, to help that new hire or that next business division.
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to whether it's an investment in staff or investing in a new carrier partner, right? To your point, you need to have a plan. And if you're just coming to a potential carrier, or I saw one of your quotes and you guys were good, I want you, right? You're not putting yourself in the right position there, right? You're not showing them what you're capable of doing and showing them how you're going to help them achieve your goals. That's one. But then even if you're going to go make an investment in a staff member, right? Hey, I think you could be good at this. You should come try it. You're not coming to them, to your point, showing them this is what you're capable of doing. This is what I'm capable of helping you achieve. This is what I expect your role to be in our agency. These are my expectations from you on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, whatever it might be. So you're not giving them structure, which you might be comfortable going back to another one of our podcasts, right? You might be comfortable with that. That employee might not be comfortable there, right? That employee might be looking at this going, okay, yeah, it's a great opportunity to get my foot in the door, but where's this going to put me in 3 years, 5 years, right? As my expenses are going up, how are you going to show me where I'm capable of keeping up with that, right? So, I think that's the structure side of it that creates the ability to scale the business, whether that's talent, whether that's technology, whether that's, carrier relationships, you name it. You've got to have that structure in place to continue growing the business versus trying to fly by the seat of your pants. And I think that's the biggest thing is we see agencies, they get to this point and they go, well, what do I do now? And they don't have a structure in place to where they can't pivot. And they just, I don't know if stuck's the right word. The better word is plateau. And they are comfortable. Yeah. And they are that agency, and you see them kind of on the peaks and the valleys from year to year on things.
It is one of those, and it's a frustrating thing to see sometimes because scale can be done so many different ways.
It can.
To your point is the owner could help continue to scale. We could do something as simple as going, we need to write larger accounts versus the smaller accounts. Yeah. So we got to figure out how to scale a little bit by just increasing the premium and commission size of our account. So you can slowly scale that way. You could look at other towns even. Some agents are just stuck in a town. They could look at going, okay, do we need to open up a new shop in a different town? They could go in different areas or different classes of business by keeping the same office there. And so, one of the things I guess I look at is lack of vision and education, what's around them and what the potential is, just to go, they can do it so many different ways. It's just choose the way that fits that agency.
Yeah. If you're an agency owner or an aspiring agency owner, the question you have to ask yourself is, what am I building my agency for? Right? That's going to allow you to put the structure in place, have a plan when it comes to scaling your business. What's your value proposition to your clients, buying experience you're creating, all of these things that you have to have on paper, right? You have to have in your playbook for the future of your business, right? It's not today, it's the future of the business. That's going to help you realize when you need that next market. That's going to help you realize when you need to open that new location, hire that employee, up those those commission levels on those accounts. That's going to help you know when's the right time to do it. And I think that's the biggest challenge agents face is they haven't built the structure from day one, and they get to that point and they go, what do I need to do now?
Yeah.
And it's easier to stay comfortable.
Yeah, it is. And I think this is where the owners have to look at themselves and go, this is squarely on their shoulders.
Yeah.
They are the ones that make the decisions to do whatever it is.
Right.
Build a better relationship with carriers, go hire people, go push on themselves, outsource things, whichever way they need to go to find that time or find that ability to grow. It's up to them.
Yes, it is.
Now, what they choose to do with it,
that's a different story, different conversation. Right.
But I think that's where we see all sorts of excuses. I say that, so why do agencies stall? The owners don't make the choices that need to be made. They probably just don't make a choice. It's probably what it is.
I was going to say, I think it's more.
I don't think they make a choice. It's not they made the wrong choice. I think they just don't make a choice.
They don't make it. Yep.
And then they sit there and they wonder, well, what happened? Why did this happen to me? The economy's bad. The market's this. It's always an external force,
right? It's
versus
never
just
internal.
going. Let me do my research. Let me figure out where I'm good. My agency's good. My markets are good in my area that I want to be in.
Yep.
And attack it that way. And I think people are just like, well, we've always done it this way, or whatever. There's just more excuses.
Yeah.
Than we're different is the first one I hear. That's the number one thing. When we've bought agencies or partner with things and we go in and we try to talk to them, number one thing they say, we're different.
Right.
I'm like, but you're not. And I use the excuse when my dad started, we were in Maysville, North Carolina. And I think there's one stoplight in town today. And this was back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Right.
Tell me your small town's different than where we came from.
Right.
because it's not. I promise you that.
Yeah, it's not.
And we still have those same clients
Today.
Yeah, absolutely. Those people are still our people. I mean, we are that independent agency, that local, but we do other things as well. So, but I'm telling you, people always just look at you and go, we're different. I can't do any of this. And you're like, okay, what can you do?
Right. What can you do? And I think that for that agent who's listening to this right now, right? I mean, I think that's the question they need to ask. Okay, maybe you don't want to do some of the things that we would do, right? Or that we've talked about in our different podcasts, but what can you do, right? What can you do to get a little uncomfortable, to step outside of what your past life has been like, to get out of that, I don't want to call it a rut, right? But to see the growth, because I think we're entering a time frame in the industry the next few years, because of the market dynamics, because of M&A activity, that our carrier partners are going to be hyper focused on growth, which we've already talked about. That if you're not delivering those results, you're going to see some of those relationships struggle. You're going to see your bottom line struggle, your top line struggle, right? I mean, you're going to see all these different things that you need to, like, if you're not working on this today, you need to start doing it.
Yeah. Hey, look, I guess that's my thing too, is just make a decision, look at it, do research. Every owner knows their particular area better than we know it, so to speak. We can help them.
I'm not very familiar with Maysville.
Yeah, we can help them get to where they need to get to.
100%.
Them getting to it themselves with us help guiding them. But the key is they got to make a decision. And I think that's the number one reason they stall.
And I think that's the best part about our partnership. If you're a startup agency or you're an existing agency, is we are there as your sounding board. We're there to talk through these things, bring you ideas, processes, whatever, carriers, whatever it might be, to help you achieve your goals. But you've got to know what that is before you ever get started. And I think that's the big kicker.
Yeah.
So
cool, man.
All right. Well, I think we covered that one pretty good.
All right.
So
let's do it.
Thank you guys
have a good one
for joining us.
Thanks for tuning in. You can catch our Build Your Legacy Insurance Edition podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, or send us over a topic recommendation at podcast@siaofnc.com. If you're interested in learning more about what we do, visit us online at www.siaofnc.com. We hope you enjoyed our newest episode. See you next week.